The Cold War era marked the most intense period of tank development in history. Between 1945 and 1991, armoured vehicles evolved from World War II designs into highly specialised machines built to survive nuclear battlefields, counter advanced anti-tank weapons, and dominate large-scale conventional warfare. This series documents every tank that was actually used during the Cold War, country by country, showing how global powers prepared for a conflict that never erupted but shaped military history forever. United States. M4A3E8 Sherman. Although designed during World War II, the M4A3E8 Sherman remained in US service during the early Cold War as an interim and training tank. Known as the EZ-8, it featured improved suspension and firepower, allowing it to remain operational during occupation duties and early Cold War deployments. While quickly outclassed by newer designs, it represented the transitional phase between wartime mass production and modern armoured. M26 Pershing. The M26 Pershing was the United States' first true heavy tank to enter Cold War service. Armed with a powerful 90mm gun and improved armour protection, it was designed to counter late-war German and emerging Soviet designs. Although its mechanical reliability was imperfect, the Pershing marked a decisive shift away from lightly armoured mediums toward tanks built for direct armoured confrontation in the new geopolitical environment. M46 Patton. The M46 Patton was an improved development of the Pershing, addressing engine power and mobility issues. It became the primary US tank during the Korean War, where it demonstrated the importance of reliability and sustained firepower. The M46 helped establish the Patton lineage as the backbone of American armoured forces throughout the early Cold War period. M47 Patton. The M47 Patton served briefly in US Army units, but became one of the most widely exported American tanks of the Cold War. Equipped with a 90mm gun and improved fire control, it armed numerous NATO allies. Though rapidly replaced domestically, its long international service life made it a key symbol of Western armoured standardization during the early Cold War. M48 Patton. The M48 Patton introduced a redesigned hull and turret offering superior ballistic protection. Entering service in the 1950s, it became the primary US main battle tank and was continuously upgraded. Variants improved fire control, armour, and mobility, allowing the M48 to remain effective throughout much of the Cold War and in the inventories of many Allied nations. M60 Patton. The M60 series represented the pinnacle of the Patton family. Armed with a 105mm gun, it featured improved armour and advanced fire control systems. The M60A3 introduced thermal imaging, giving NATO a technological edge. Throughout the late Cold War, the M60 served as the backbone of US armoured forces in Europe and beyond. M551 Sheridan. The M551 Sheridan was a highly unconventional Cold War tank designed for airborne and rapid deployment forces. Armed with a gun launcher capable of firing missiles, it prioritized mobility over protection. While innovative, its thin armor limited survivability, reflecting Cold War experimentation with specialized armored roles rather than traditional tank combat. MBT-70. The MBT-70 was a joint US-West German project intended to revolutionize tank design, featuring advanced suspension, missile armament, and crew automation. It was technologically ambitious but overly complex. Although never fielded, its development influenced later Cold War tanks by highlighting the limits of experimental over-engineering. XM803 was a simplified successor to the MBT-70, designed to reduce cost while retaining advanced features. Despite improvements, it still proved too expensive and complex for practical service. The project's cancellation provided crucial lessons that shaped the design philosophy of the next generation of American tanks. M1 Abrams. Entering service in the final decade of the Cold War, the M1 Abrams represented a revolutionary leap in tank design. Featuring composite armor, a gas turbine engine, and advanced fire control, it was designed to counter the most advanced Soviet tanks. Though its combat debut came later, it closed the Cold War as one of the world's most capable armoured vehicles. Next on the list, United Kingdom, Centurion. The Centurion is often regarded as one of the most successful tanks ever built. Introduced at the end of World War II, it became the backbone of British armoured forces throughout the Cold War. Continuous upgrades in armament, armour, and mobility allowed it to remain relevant for decades, serving in numerous conflicts worldwide and influencing tank design across multiple nations. Conqueror. The Conqueror was Britain's heavy tank response to Soviet armoured threats. Armed with a powerful 120mm gun, it was designed to engage enemy tanks at long range. While formidable in firepower, its size, weight, and cost limited widespread use. The Conqueror reflected early Cold War thinking, focused on countering heavily armoured adversaries. Chieftain. The Chieftain introduced a powerful rifled gun and heavy frontal armour, prioritising firepower and protection over speed. It became the cornerstone of British armoured doctrine during the mid-Cold War. Despite mechanical challenges, it set new standards for tank lethality and long-range engagement capabilities. Challenger 1. Developed in the late Cold War, the Challenger 1 emphasised survivability and long-range firepower. Featuring advanced armour and a refined gun system, it was designed to face Warsaw Pact forces in Europe. The Challenger 1 bridged Cold War armoured doctrine into the modern era. Next on the list, France. ARL 44. The ARL of 44 was France's first post-war tank, developed to rapidly rebuild national armoured capability after World War II. Heavily influenced by wartime design concepts, it featured thick armour and a powerful gun, but suffered from mechanical limitations. Though short-lived in service, the ARL-44 symbolised France's determination to regain military independence during the early Cold War. AMX-13. The AMX-13 was a highly innovative light tank featuring an oscillating turret and autoloader. Designed for mobility and rapid deployment, it became one of France's most successful Cold War exports. Though lightly armoured, its firepower and flexibility allowed it to serve worldwide, influencing light tank and reconnaissance doctrine throughout the Cold War. AMX-30. The AMX-30 reflected a French design philosophy emphasising mobility and firepower over heavy armour. Armed with a 105mm gun, it became France's primary main battle tank during the Cold War. Its balance of speed, firepower and simplicity made it effective for rapid manoeuvre warfare and attractive to export customers. AMX-32. The AMX-32 was an export-focused development of the AMX-30, incorporating improved protection and fire control. Although it did not enter French service, it represented France's effort to compete in the global Cold War tank market by offering modernised and adaptable designs. AMX-40. The AMX-40 was France's late Cold War attempt to modernise its armoured offerings. Featuring advanced fire control and improved protection, it was aimed primarily at export markets. Though not adopted domestically, it reflected evolving Cold War requirements and technological trends. Next on the list, West Germany, M48A2GA2. West Germany extensively modified its M48 tanks to meet NATO requirements. The M48A2GA2 featured improved fire control, communications, and reliability. These upgrades allowed the Bundeswehr to field a capable armoured force during the early Cold War, while domestic tank programs matured. Leopard 1. The Leopard 1 embodied West Germany's emphasis on mobility and firepower. Armed with a 105mm gun, it sacrificed heavy armour for speed and advanced optics. It became one of NATO's most important tanks and was widely exported, shaping Western armoured doctrine throughout the Cold War. Leopard 2. Introduced at the very end of the Cold War, the Leopard 2 featured advanced composite armour, a powerful 120mm gun, and sophisticated fire control. Designed to counter the latest Soviet tanks, it marked a new generation of Western main battle tanks and set standards that remain influential today. Next on the list, East Germany. East Germany relied on the T-34-85 during the early Cold War as it rebuilt its armoured forces under Soviet supervision. Used primarily for training and secondary roles, it helped standardise Warsaw Pact doctrine and provided a foundation for later modernisation. T-54. The T-54 formed the core of East Germany's armoured units during the early Cold War. Its strong armour and reliable gun gave Warsaw Pact forces a numerical and qualitative advantage. The tank symbolised Soviet military influence over Eastern Europe. T-55. The T-55 became East Germany's primary main battle tank during the mid-Cold War. Featuring improved crew protection and reliability, it remained in service for decades. Its presence ensured interoperability with other Warsaw Pact forces in any potential European conflict. T-72. Introduced later in the Cold War, the T-72 enhanced East Germany's armoured capabilities with improved firepower and protection. Though limited in numbers, it represented the modernisation of Pact forces in response to advancing NATO technology. Next on the list, Italy. M26 Pershing. Italy adopted the M26 Pershing as part of NATO standardisation efforts. It provided improved firepower and armour compared to wartime tanks, serving as a transitional platform while Italy rebuilt its armoured forces. During the early Cold War, M47 Patton. The M47 Patton became Italy's primary Cold War tank during the 1950s and 1960s. Reliable and well-armed, it allowed Italy to integrate fully into NATO armoured doctrine and provided a foundation for future modernisation. Leopard 1. Italy later adopted the Leopard 1, benefiting from its mobility and firepower. Licensed production and use strengthened Italy's domestic defence industry and aligned its armoured forces with NATO standards during the later Cold War. OF-40. The OF-40 was Italy's first domestically designed Cold War tank. Developed for export, it combined proven Western components with Italian engineering. Though not adopted by Italy itself, it demonstrated industrial maturity and Cold War-era ambition. Next on the list, Japan. Type 61. Japan's first post-war tank, the Type 61, was designed for national defence under constitutional constraints. It emphasised mobility and defensive firepower, marking Japan's re-entry into armoured vehicle development during the Cold War. Type 74. The Type 74 introduced advanced suspension and fire control systems. Designed for Japan's mountainous terrain, it reflected Cold War adaptation to local geography and modern armoured warfare requirements. Type 90. The Type 90 represented Japan's most advanced Cold War tank, featuring composite armour and a 120mm gun. Entering service at the end of the Cold War, it positioned Japan among the world's leading armoured powers. Next on the list, Canada. Centurion. Canada operated the Centurion as part of its NATO commitments in Europe. Its reliability and firepower made it effective in deterrence roles during the early Cold War. Leopard 1. Canada later adopted the Leopard 1, valuing its mobility and advanced optics. It became central to Canada's armoured doctrine during the late Cold War. Next on the list, Sweden. Struve 74. The Struve 74 was developed as a modernisation of older Swedish tanks to maintain credible armoured strength during the early Cold War. By mounting a high-velocity gun in a redesigned turret, Sweden significantly improved firepower without building an entirely new vehicle. The Struve 74 served primarily in defensive roles, reflecting Sweden's doctrine of territorial defence, and provided an effective stopgap until more advanced indigenous designs entered service. Struve 101. The Struve 101 and 102 were Swedish-designated Centurion tanks adapted to national requirements. These vehicles provided Sweden with a heavily armoured and well-armed platform capable of countering modern Cold War threats. Upgrades included improved fire control and local modifications suited to Nordic terrain. Their service ensured Sweden maintained parity with NATO and Warsaw Pact armour despite its neutral status. Struve 103. The Struve 103 was one of the most unconventional tanks ever fielded during the Cold War. Featuring a turretless design, fixed gun, and advanced suspension, it relied on hull movement for aiming. This design emphasized low profile, strong frontal armor, and defensive ambush tactics, reflected Sweden's unique approach to armored warfare, prioritizing survivability and homeland defense over expeditionary capability. Starvi 104. The Starvi 104 was a modernization of earlier Centurion tanks, incorporating improved engines, transmissions, and fire control systems. These upgrades extended the operational life of Sweden's armoured forces well into the late Cold War. The STRV 104 demonstrated Sweden's ability to adapt existing platforms to evolving threats while maintaining a strong independent defence posture. Next on the list, Switzerland. Panzer 58. The Panzer 58 was Switzerland's first domestically developed Cold War tank designed to support its policy of armed neutrality. Built with a focus on defensive warfare in mountainous terrain, it emphasized reliability and crew protection. Although produced in limited numbers, the Panzer 58 laid the foundation for Switzerland's independent armoured vehicle industry and demonstrated national capability during a tense geopolitical era. Panzer 61. An evolution of the Panzer 58, the Panzer 61 introduced a more powerful gun, improved fire control, and better overall reliability. It became the backbone of Swiss armoured forces during the mid-Cold War. Designed specifically for Alpine defence, the Panzer 61 reflected Switzerland's emphasis on deterrence, territorial control, and the ability to resist invasion despite remaining politically neutral. Panzer 68. The Panzer 68 was the final and most advanced Swiss Cold War tank. It incorporated further improvements in fire control, communications, and mobility. Despite early technical issues, it remained a key component of Swiss armoured defence into the late Cold War. The Panzer 68 symbolised Switzerland's commitment to maintaining a modern, independent armoured force capable of defending its territory. Next on the list, Spain. M47 pattern. Spain adopted the M47 pattern during the early Cold War as part of its gradual military modernization and closer alignment with Western powers. Armed with a 90mm gun and featuring improved armor compared to World War II tanks, the M47 gave Spain a credible armored force for the first time in the Cold War era. While it was later surpassed by more advanced designs, the M47 allowed Spain to standardize training, logistics, and armoured doctrine during a critical transitional period. M48 pattern. The M48 pattern replaced the M47 as Spain's primary main battle tank and represented a major improvement in survivability and combat capability. Its redesigned turret and hull offered better ballistic protection, while continuous upgrades extended its service life well into the late Cold War. The M48 became the backbone of Spanish armoured forces, ensuring NATO interoperability and providing Spain with a modern armoured deterrent during decades of geopolitical tension. AMX-30E. The AMX-30E was produced under license in Spain, marking a significant step toward domestic armoured vehicle production. Based on the French AMX-30, it emphasized mobility and firepower rather than heavy armour, reflecting Cold War European doctrine. The AMX-30E became Spain's most advanced tank of the era, strengthening national industry while providing a capable platform suited for rapid manoeuvre warfare. Next on the list, Netherlands. Centurion. The Netherlands fielded the Centurion as part of NATO's forward defence strategy in Europe. Known for its strong armour and reliable gun, the Centurion provided Dutch armoured units with a highly effective deterrent against Warsaw Pact forces. Its long service life and adaptability allowed it to remain relevant during the early Cold War, helping standardise NATO armoured operations and reinforcing collective defence. Leopard 1. The Leopard 1 replaced the Centurion in Dutch service and reflected a shift toward mobility and advanced fire control systems. Armed with a 105mm gun and supported by excellent optics, It allowed Dutch forces to operate effectively within NATO doctrine. The Leopard 1 became the Netherlands' primary Cold War tank, valued for reliability, speed, and compatibility with Allied forces. Leopard 2. Introduced near the end of the Cold War, the Leopard 2 gave the Netherlands access to one of the most advanced tanks of its time. Featuring composite armour and a powerful 120mm gun, it was designed to counter the latest Soviet threats. Though entering service late, it symbolised NATO's technological superiority as the Cold War drew to a close. Next on the list, Belgium. M47 Patton. Belgium used the M47 Patton as an interim solution to modernise its armoured forces during the early Cold War. The tank allowed Belgium to quickly field a standardised NATO-compatible platform, improving firepower and protection compared to older equipment. While eventually replaced, the M47 played a vital role in training crews and establishing Cold War armoured doctrine. Leopard 1. The Leopard 1 became Belgium's primary main battle tank during the later Cold War. Its emphasis on mobility, accurate fire control, and reliability made it well suited to NATO defensive operations. The Leopard 1 ensured Belgian armoured units could operate seamlessly alongside Allied forces in a potential European conflict. Next on the list, NATO and Allied export users. Centurion. The Centurion was exported extensively to NATO and Allied nations, becoming one of the most influential Cold War tanks worldwide. Its adaptability allowed continuous upgrades in armament and protection, making it effective across diverse climates and conflicts. For many nations, the Centurion represented their first truly modern main battle tank. M47 Patton. The M47 Patton became a cornerstone of Western Cold War exports, equipping numerous Allied armies. Although short-lived in US service, it provided dependable firepower and armour to nations rebuilding their armoured forces. Its widespread adoption helped standardise Western armoured doctrine across continents. M48 Patton. The M48 Patton was one of the most widely fielded Western tanks of the Cold War. Its improved armour layout and upgrade potential allowed it to remain operational for decades. Export users relied on the M48 as a primary main battle tank, often modernising it to extend service life well beyond its original design. M60 Patton. The M60 Patton represented the peak of American export tank design during the Cold War. Featuring a powerful 105mm gun and advanced fire control, it offered Allied nations a tank capable of confronting advanced Soviet designs. Its reliability and upgrade potential made it a long-term asset worldwide. Leopard 1. The Leopard 1 achieved exceptional export success due to its balance of firepower, mobility, and simplicity. Allied nations adopted it as a cost-effective yet capable main battle tank. Its influence on NATO armoured doctrine during the Cold War cannot be overstated. Next on the list, Soviet Union. T-34-85. Although born in World War II, the T-34-85 remained in frontline service during the early Cold War across the Soviet Union and its allies. Its improved 85mm gun allowed it to remain effective against post-war designs, while its simplicity ensured massive availability. During the early Cold War, it served as a stopgap solution and training platform, spreading Soviet armoured doctrine worldwide through exports. T-44. The T-44 marked a major design leap for Soviet tanks, introducing a lower profile hull and improved internal layout. Although produced in limited numbers, it directly influenced future Soviet designs. During the early Cold War, the T-44 helped transition Soviet tank engineering away from wartime compromises toward a modernized armored force structure. T-54. The T-54 became the most influential tank of the Cold War. Entering service in the late 1940s, it combined strong armor, a powerful 100mm gun, and a low silhouette. Its reliability and ease of production allowed it to be fielded in enormous numbers, shaping Soviet and global armored doctrine for decades. T-55. An evolution of the T-54, the T-55 introduced improved crew protection, nuclear, biological chemical systems, and enhanced reliability. It became one of the most widely used tanks in history. Throughout the Cold War, it formed the backbone of Warsaw Pact armored forces and was exported globally, ensuring Soviet influence across multiple continents. T-62. The T-62 introduced the world's first smoothbore tank gun, giving it superior armor, penetration compared to Nato designs of the time. Entering service in the early 1960s, it reflected Soviet emphasis on firepower. While later criticized for ergonomics, it represented a key step in Cold War tank evolution. T-64. The T-64 was a revolutionary but complex design, introducing composite armor and an autoloader. Intended for elite Soviet units, it prioritized protection and firepower over simplicity. Although expensive and maintenance-heavy, it laid the groundwork for future Soviet main battle tanks and reflected Cold War technological escalation. T-72. Designed as a more affordable counterpart to the T-64, the T-72 became the Soviet Union's most widely exported modern tank. Combining a powerful gun with improved reliability, it was produced in vast numbers. During the late Cold War, it symbolized Soviet armored strength across Eastern Europe and beyond. T-80. The T-80 introduced a gas turbine engine, emphasizing speed and acceleration. It was intended to provide Soviet forces with rapid maneuver capability in a potential European conflict. Though costly and fuel-hungry, it represented the peak of Cold War Soviet tank technology before the collapse of the USSR. IS-3. The IS-3 heavy tank featured a distinctive pike nose and heavy armor designed to counter late-war German threats. During the Cold War, it served primarily as a psychological and deterrent weapon. While its practical battlefield use was limited, its appearance deeply influenced Western tank designers. IS-4. The IS-4 was an attempt to further increase armor protection beyond the IS-3. However, its extreme weight limited mobility and logistics. Though fielded in small numbers, it reflected Soviet experimentation with heavy tanks during the early Cold War before the concept was abandoned. IS-7. The IS-7 represented the ultimate Soviet heavy tank concept, featuring massive armor and a powerful gun. Although it never entered full service, it demonstrated the extremes of Cold War tank design. Its cancellation marked the end of heavy tanks in favor of main battle tank doctrine. IS-8. The T-10 was the final Soviet heavy tank to enter service. Armed with a 122-meter gun and improved mobility, it served throughout the early Cold War. Eventually phased out, it symbolized the transition from heavy tanks to the universal main battle tank concept. Next on the list, Warsaw Pact and Soviet allies. T-34-85. The T-34-85 remained in widespread service across Warsaw Pact nations well into the Cold War. Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria relied on it as a primary armoured vehicle during the early post-war years. Its proven reliability, ease of maintenance, and adequate firepower made it suitable for training and reserve units. Though obsolete by the 1960s, it played a crucial role in standardizing Soviet doctrine across Allied forces. T-54. The T-54 became the first truly modern tank fielded by Warsaw Pact armies. Licensed. Production and deliveries allowed Allied nations to rapidly modernize their armored forces. Its strong armor, low silhouette, and 100mm gun gave Pact forces numerical and qualitative advantages during the early Cold War. The T-54 formed the foundation of Eastern Bloc armored doctrine and remained in service for decades through upgrades. T-55. The T-55 was the most widely used tank across Warsaw Pact countries. Featuring improved NBC protection and enhanced reliability, it became the standard main battle tank for Eastern Europe. Local upgrades and modernization programs extended its service life well into the late Cold War. The T-55 ensured interoperability among Pact forces and symbolized Soviet military dominance across the Eastern Bloc. T-72. Introduced during the late Cold War, the T-72 represented a major leap in firepower and protection for Warsaw Pact armies. Delivered to select Allied nations, it was intended to counter advanced NATO tanks. Although export versions were simplified, the T-72 significantly enhanced Pact offensive capability and became a key component of late Cold War armoured planning. Next on the list, Czechoslovakia, LT-38. Originally a pre-World War II design, the LT-38 continued to serve in Czechoslovakia during the early Cold War years. Used mainly for training and secondary roles, it provided valuable experience for armoured crews during the post-war rebuilding period. Though outdated, its continued service highlights the transitional nature of early Cold War armoured forces in Eastern Europe. T-55AM. Czechoslovakia developed advanced modernization packages for the T-55, resulting in the T-55AM series. These upgrades included improved fire control, additional armor, and enhanced survivability systems. The T-55AM allowed Pact forces to keep older tanks operational and relevant against modern NATO threats, demonstrating Eastern Europe's ability to adapt Soviet designs to evolving Cold War requirements. Next on the list, China. Type 59. The Type 59 was China's first mass-produced main battle tank and the foundation of its Cold War armoured forces. Based on the Soviet T-54, it emphasized simplicity, reliability, and large-scale production rather than advanced technology. Entering service in the late 1950s, it equipped the People's Liberation Army for decades and was exported worldwide. Its long service life made it one of the most recognizable Cold War tanks. Type 62. Designed as a lighter alternative to the Type 59, the Type 62 was optimized for mountainous and jungle terrain. It sacrificed armor protection for reduced weight and increased mobility, making it suitable for China's southern regions. Although vulnerable in conventional combat, it filled a niche role and demonstrated China's adaptation of Cold War tank design to regional operational needs. Type 63. The Type 63 was an amphibious light tank developed to support river crossings and coastal operations. Its design prioritized water, mobility and flexibility over heavy protection. During the Cold War, it allowed Chinese forces to conduct combined land-water operations, reflecting a strategic focus on regional geography rather than large-scale armoured confrontation. Type 69. The Type 69 was an improved evolution of earlier Chinese tanks, featuring better fire control and incremental armour upgrades. Developed both for domestic use and export, it became a major component of China's Cold War arms industry. Its widespread use in foreign armies expanded Chinese influence and marked a gradual technological step forward. Type 79. The Type 79 represented China's transition toward more modern tank technology influenced by Western systems. It introduced improved optics and fire control, bridging the gap between Soviet-derived designs and later indigenous Chinese main battle tanks. Next on the list, Israel. M50 Super Sherman. The M50 Super Sherman was Israel's early Cold War solution to armoured shortages. By upgrading surplus Shermans with improved guns and engines, Israel transformed an outdated platform into an effective combat vehicle. It played a critical role in early Arab-Israeli conflicts and demonstrated Israel's ability to innovate under severe resource constraints. M51 Super Sherman. The M51 further modernized the Sherman with a powerful gun capable of engaging contemporary armor. Its extended service life proved that intelligent upgrades could keep older tanks relevant. The M51 became a symbol of Israeli ingenuity and adaptability during the Cold War. Centurion, Shot. The Shot was Israel's heavily upgraded Centurion, featuring improved engines, fire control, and protection. It excelled in desert warfare and became one of Israel's most successful Cold War tanks, contributing decisively to armored superiority in regional conflicts. M48 Magak. Israel modernized the M48 pattern into the Magak series, focusing on crew survivability and battlefield performance. These tanks formed a core component of Israeli armored forces during the mid-Cold War and reflected the country's emphasis on continuous battlefield adaptation. M60 Magak. The M60 Magach further enhanced Israel's armored capability with advanced systems and protection. It served as a bridge between imported Western tanks and Israel's move toward indigenous tank design. Merkava Mk1. The Merkava Mk1 was Israel's first domestically designed main battle tank. Entering service late in the Cold War, it emphasized crew protection and battlefield awareness, marking a new philosophy in armored warfare and national self-reliance. Next on the list, India. Vijayanta. The Vijayanta, based on the British Vickers MBT, became India's first domestically produced Cold War tank. It strengthened national independence in armoured production and played an important role in regional conflicts, establishing India as a significant armoured power. T-54. The T-54 provided India with modern armoured capability during the early Cold War. Its reliability and firepower helped modernise Indian armoured doctrine and integrate Soviet technology into national defence planning. T-55. The T-55 became India's most numerous Cold War tank, valued for ease of maintenance and long service life. It remained operational for decades, forming the backbone of India's armoured forces. T-72. The T-72 significantly upgraded India's armoured strength during the late Cold War. With improved firepower and protection, it positioned India to counter regional threats more effectively. Next on the list, Iran. Iran introduced the M47 pattern during the 1950s as part of its Western-aligned military modernization. Armed with a 90mm gun and offering improved armor compared to older designs, the M47 allowed Iran to rapidly build a modern armored force. Though eventually outclassed, it played a vital role in training crews, establishing armored doctrine, and laying the foundation for Iran's Cold War tank development. M48 pattern. The M48 pattern significantly improved Iran's armoured capability through enhanced protection, a redesigned turret, and better battlefield survivability. It became a core component of Iranian armoured units throughout the Cold War. Continuous upgrades allowed it to remain effective for decades, reflecting Iran's emphasis on maintaining a capable and modernised tank force amid regional instability. M60 pattern. The M60 pattern represented Iran's most advanced American-supplied tank during the Cold War. Featuring a powerful 105mm gun and improved fire control, it provided Iran with a credible counter to modern Soviet-supplied armor in the region. The M60 formed the technological peak of Iran's Western-era armored doctrine before later geopolitical shifts. Chieftain. The British Chieftain became the centerpiece of Iran's late Cold War armored forces. Designed with heavy frontal armor and a powerful 120mm gun, it offered exceptional firepower and protection. Although maintenance-intensive, the Chieftain gave Iran a significant qualitative advantage and demonstrated its ambition to field top-tier armoured technology during the Cold War. Next on the list, Iraq. T-54. The T-54 formed the backbone of Iraq's early Cold War armoured forces, introducing Soviet armoured doctrine and modern battlefield concepts. Its robust design, reliable gun, and ease of maintenance made it well suited to Iraq's operational environment. The T-54 allowed Iraq to rapidly expand its armoured units and establish the foundation for future modernization. T-55. The T-55 became Iraq's most widely used Cold War tank due to its simplicity, reliability, and ease of mass deployment. Featuring improved crew protection and long operational endurance, It served as the primary armoured platform for decades. Its widespread use ensured numerical strength and logistical simplicity within Iraqi armoured formations. T-62. The T-62 introduced major improvements in firepower with its smoothbore gun, giving Iraqi forces enhanced armour penetration capability. Entering service during the mid-Cold War, it represented a significant step forward in Iraqi armoured strength. Despite ergonomic limitations, it symbolized modernization and growing regional military ambition. T-72. The T-72 was Iraq's most advanced Cold War tank, combining improved armor, firepower, and mobility. Though export versions were simplified, it significantly enhanced Iraqi armored capability. The T-72 became the centerpiece of Iraq's late Cold War armored doctrine and shaped its battlefield strategy during regional conflicts. Next on the list, South Korea. M47 pattern. South Korea adopted the M47 pattern to rebuild its armored forces following the Korean War. The tank provided a substantial improvement in firepower and protection, enabling South Korea to establish a credible armored deterrent. Though eventually replaced, the M47 was essential in training armored crews and forming Cold War defensive doctrine. M48 pattern. The M48 pattern became the backbone of South Korea's Cold War tank fleet. Its improved armor layout, upgraded fire control systems, and long service life made it highly effective for defensive operations. Continuous modernization allowed the M48 to remain relevant and dependable throughout decades of heightened tension on the Korean peninsula. K1. Entering service near the end of the Cold War, the K1 represented South Korea's transition to indigenous tank development. Influenced by Western design principles, it featured advanced armor and fire control systems. The K1 marked South Korea's emergence as a modern, armored power and laid the groundwork for future domestic tank programs. Next on the list, North Korea, T-34-85. The T-34-85 remained central to North Korea's armoured forces well into the Cold War. Though obsolete by global standards, its reliability and availability allowed North Korea to maintain a large armoured force. It provided the foundational experience and doctrine upon which later domestic tank development was built. T-54. The introduction of the T-54 significantly modernized North Korea's armoured units. With improved firepower and protection, it represented a major upgrade over earlier tanks. The T-54 strengthened North Korea's conventional deterrence and aligned its armoured forces more closely with Soviet military doctrine. T-55. The T-55 became North Korea's primary Cold War tank, valued for simplicity, durability, and ease of maintenance. It allowed North Korean forces to field large armoured formations capable of sustained operations, reinforcing strategic emphasis on numerical strength and defensive depth. Chonma-ho. The Chonma-ho represented North Korea's indigenous evolution of Soviet tank designs. Based on the T-62 concept, it incorporated domestic modifications and upgrades. Its development marked a significant step towards self-reliance in armoured vehicle production and symbolized national military ambition during the late Cold War. Next on the list, South America, M41 Walker Bulldog. The M41 Walker Bulldog was widely used across South America as a light tank suited for reconnaissance and rapid maneuver. Its speed and reliability made it ideal for regional terrain. Though lightly armoured, it played an important role in shaping Cold War armoured doctrine throughout the continent. M47 pattern. The M47 pattern modernized South American armoured forces by introducing improved firepower and protection. Used by multiple countries, it helped standardize training and armoured tactics during the Cold War, marking a significant leap beyond World War II era equipment. M48 pattern. The M48 pattern provided enhanced survivability and combat capability for South American armies. Continuous upgrades allowed it to remain operational for decades, ensuring armoured relevance despite limited defence budgets. TAM. The TAM was Argentina's most advanced Cold War tank, combining Western technology with local production. Designed for mobility and modern fire control, it symbolized South America's peak Cold War armored ambition and industrial capability. The Cold War tank was never just a weapon of war. It was a symbol of deterrence, ideology, and industrial power. Across NATO, the Warsaw Pact, and non-aligned nations, tanks evolved to meet vastly different doctrines, terrains, and political realities. Some emphasized speed and firepower, others survivability and numbers. But all were built with the expectation of a conflict that could decide the fate of the world. Though the Cold War never turned hot, on a global scale, these machines shaped military strategy, influenced modern tank design, and remain enduring icons of an era defined by tension, rivalry, and technological ambition.